All rise to the pledge.
Thing to buy.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Alvarez.
Present.
Councilman Cypress.
Here.
Councilman Marca.
Here.
Councilman O'Connor.
Here.
Supervisor Heck.
Here. Notation exits in the front, rear, electronic device. Please put it on vibrate. Okay. First item on the agenda this evening is a public hearing for Chapter 78 of the Town Code, Freshwater Wetlands. I make a motion to open the public hearing and waive the reading of the notice.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Anyone here this evening to discuss the freshwater wetlands produced by the town? Bless you.
Thank you. Excuse me.
You want to give us a quick update, or?
I mean, I can just answer any questions the board has, or I can give you a quick overview of what we did. It's up to you.
We've all had an opportunity to read it. Does anyone have any questions?
I don't think so.
Seeing none?
Do you want a quick overview of what we did?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
sure.
Okay, so Chapter 78 has been, was adopted in 2003. It's been amended twice, in 2006 and 2012. This particular version of Chapter 78 is completely new. It's an overhaul of the chapter. Basically, there are two major changes. In our town, the wetland buffer area is considered variable, meaning it depends on the soil quality. And it can either be a 100-foot buffer, 133-foot, 166-foot, or 200 feet. The DEC, which has wetlands also in the town, their buffer is 100 feet. In this rewrite of Chapter 78, we now have only a 100-foot buffer for town wetlands. And that comes from some experts that we're working with currently. We had a new wetland inspector with AKRF who was part of this rewrite, and now we have Bruce Barber, who's our new wetland inspector, was also part of this rewrite, and they're all very comfortable with that 100-foot. It makes it more consistent with the DEC, it makes it easier for people to understand, and it's a lot more enforceable. The second change is that we have added an administrative wetland permit, which is administered completely within the building department. It's designed primarily for people, residential people who have wetlands on their property or trying to build homes or add decks or anything they want to do on their property that might impact the wetland. They would be very minor wetland impacts. They would be handled within the building department, but with Bruce Barber doing the reviews and making the recommendations, again, our wetland inspector. So it's a lot less expensive, a lot less time consuming for homeowners who used to have to come to the planning board for a full wetland review. And basically all of these changes were designed to encourage compliance and just to make the law a little bit more current with what else is going on in the world.
Thank you.
Anyone from anyone?
Oh, sorry, just one quick question. If Bruce is reviewing it, I assume the administrative permit has a fee, and
Yes.
we'll easily cover Bruce
Yes.
with that? Okay.
So it's interesting because if a homeowner wants to do something on their property and the building department thinks there's a wetland involved, we had a fee which was covered Bruce Barber going out and determining whether or not there were wetlands present. That fee was $500. The fee for the administrative wetland permit is $500. So instead of just getting him to go out and make a determination and then having that person have to go to the planning board for the whole review, it's the same $500 basically.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else from the board?
Thank you.
Last call from the public? Seeing none, I make a motion to close the public hearing and keep it open 5 days for written comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Second item, amend Chapter 119 and 138 for the protection of trees. I make a motion and waive the reading of the public hearing notice.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so what we have here is we were looking for a way for tree preservation, and originally we talked about having a whole new chapter to the code, but we found it was more streamlined and easier to make some changes to Chapter 119 and Chapter 138. Chapter 119 governs stormwater management, and it includes what's called an erosion and sediment control permit if you're disturbing the ground and you're going to cause any kind of stormwater runoff. So we added some things to Chapter 119 that will also include clear cutting of trees. And this allows for clear cutting of trees at various times of the year and during the planning board review process, where people were having to wait. Most of the big developers were going through the entire planning board process, and at the end were able to get their approvals and cut the trees. The planning board now gets some ability through Chapter 138 changes to allow that cutting to happen once the seeker process is complete, meaning the entire environmental quality review process. And this is, the problem that we have in the town is something called the northern long-eared bat. They're prevalent in a very large part of the town of Southeast, and you cannot cut trees down anytime from November to March. So a lot of people who were getting close to their approvals were asking if they could take the trees down before the bat season, basically. So what this is designed to do is help us give them the opportunity to do that once other parts of the review have been done, and to prevent, the other thing that has happened once or twice is to prevent a situation where a parcel was clear cut and then what was to be built there was never built. So it gives the town a little bit more control over that happening. And the changes are in each of those two chapters.
Sorry.
Good.
Is that a permit that they would get to cut the trees, or you just make a motion at the planning board, or you just give it to them?
So it becomes part of the whole planning board review process, and if you know you have a developer who's running up against that deadline of November, and there could be an issue where they want to get out there sooner, they would have to make that request to the planning board. It would be at the planning board's discretion to say yes or no based on the input from the consultants, the town engineer, the town planner, just
And
as we do pretty much
Say
everything.
yes at the meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair, thank you.
Anyone else from the board? From the public? Seeing none, I make a motion to close the public hearing, leave 5 days for written comment.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sorry.
Okay, first item on the work session this evening is the Building Department Code Enforcement Court Appearance Fee. Mr. Lurka.
Yes, so I just wanted to see if we could have some quick discussion on this. Code enforcement is really important for our town. The building department does a lot of work trying to gain compliance from some of the offenders in town. And it's a lot of work that goes into it, and it's a long process where an NOV has to be issued, and then 30 days have to pass. There's a follow-up period where you would issue a court appearance ticket, and then some time would pass. Then you would come to court, and there's various reasons why you may not have resolved any of the issues by the time you come to court. And some people wind up coming to court several times, and there may not be any fines given based on what's going on with the violation. So I was curious to know if there's any way that we can charge a court appearance fee. And I don't know if this is regulated by the state or anything like that, so we can try to offset some of our expenses.
I haven't completed my research, but it is, it's something that is unheard of in the state of New York as far as having a court cost, which I think is really what you're driving at. I don't know, there may be a way to amend our local laws regarding penalties, but again, the penalty is something that is really discretionary with the court. Mm-hmm. We can have a range of fines, and it's really up to ultimately the judge to determine what kind of fine or penalty is going to be imposed. Okay. In a negotiated settlement, I can say, well, I'm going to recommend X. Mm-hmm. And if the defendant says, okay, fine, I'm ready to deal with that. If not, we have to have a trial. Right. And there's no way to get around that. And then I have to be, the people, the town of Southeast, have to put on their case and prove beyond a reasonable doubt that what they've been charged with has, in fact, was in fact what they did or didn't do. Mm-hmm. And then the court is constrained by whatever our fine structure is. And in some of the situations, you know, it could be for a first offense, not to exceed, you know, say $500. For a second offense within 18 months or whatever, it could be $1,000. I'm just using this hypothetically.
Right.
Other statutes, some of the building codes saying, you know, a fine not to exceed $250 per violation. Now, we have provisions saying each week constitutes another violation, but theoretically, not theoretically, legally, our enforcement officers have to go back and issue a separate appearance ticket each week and that's something that in certain cases we have encouraged our code enforcement officers to do that. In other situations, we haven't because it's very it's time.
Right.
They've got to go out there, they have to inspect the property again, they have to then sign a sworn statement basically that the condition exists, and then file it with the court, and then that becomes another charge. So the long and short of it is that what at least the way I've been doing this for many years, is that when you have a situation where somebody is not maintaining their property, you try to use the court system as a catalyst for change. Most people don't want to come back every month. And that's the other thing that makes it a little bit difficult from a timing perspective, from where you sit, saying, why is this taking so much time? Each judge only has one town prosecution calendar a month.
Okay.
So if they come in and say, I need another adjournment, how long is it going to take you to fix it? I don't know. It might take me 60 days. The judge is like, okay, we'll put it out for 60 days.
Right, that's what.
And that's another thing that I don't have any control
We
over.
can't charge for adjournment?
No, I've never seen it done that way. But the fact of the matter is, if you want the town to take a more aggressive approach, which we can do, and just say, I'm sorry, we're ready for trial. And I don't know how the judges are going to react. The judge will probably grant an adjournment, at least one adjournment as a matter of course. I can't speak for the judges, but again, that's in their province. And then if at the time that they get that adjournment, they're not ready to go, they say, okay, well, we've given you an opportunity to fix the problem, and you haven't done what you need to do. Therefore, we're going to set it down for trial. And usually, once they're in a situation where they have to come in but again, I have to put on my case, and they get to put on a defense if they've got one, and then it's up to the judge to determine whether they're innocent or guilty and what the fine will be.
Okay. Are the fines that we charge? So I looked at our fee schedule. I don't know if I.
It's not a fee. You won't find those in a fee
Right,
schedule. You have
okay.
to actually look in the statute. In each chapter in our code, building and zoning, they each have a fine section.
Okay. And that's something that we could
You could
revisit?
always amend. Yep,
Okay.
by a local law.
Okay. For each one, or you could look at them?
You could probably
holistically?
do if it has to do with increasing fees, you could probably do one local law and just amend several chapters of the
Yeah.
code of the town of Southeast. Technically, when you're doing local laws, you're supposed to have the subject. You can't have more than one subject. And if you're doing just fines and fees, conceivably you could put it all together, have one public hearing, and file it as one local law, amending several sections of several chapters.
Okay. I think I'll look at that fee schedule.
Fine schedule.
Fine schedule, yes. Because, I think, talk to
It
some.
probably does need some updating.
Yeah.
I mean, there are many ways to mete out pain. Some people think it's painful coming to court. Others will come to court and they'll pay a big fine.
Cost of doing business,
Yeah.
yeah. It's definitely somewhere where we're leaking oil from a resource
Yeah.
perspective.
The The other point that I would make is that the courts, the civil court, I mean, the criminal courts don't have what they call equity jurisdiction. They can't enforce, they can't say, the town court can't say, oh, I'm going to enjoin you from messing up your property, or I'm going to issue a mandamus that requires you to clean up your property. They don't have that equity jurisdiction. So all they can do is determine guilt or innocence and impose a fine. So in order to, one of the perennial offenders is on Drewville Road.
Yeah.
He comes in, we get ready for trial, he goes, I plead guilty. He pays, $1,500 fine, $2,500 fine. And to him, it's a cost of doing business in the way he likes to do business, I guess. So in order to alleviate that, I have to commence a proceeding in Supreme Court, which has equity jurisdiction. So that requires, that would be a more involved and costly process for both the town as well as the individual, because he would have to get himself an attorney. And, or theoretically, he could represent himself, but
So for the property you were talking about, because I know it well, we could fine him every week?
oh, absolutely, you have to issue him a summons every week. I think it's every week. Every week is a separate violation.
Okay.
Every week the condition continues. And we have in the past issued multiple citations, and I have gotten fines from that particular individual that exceed what is our, what is our limit, if you will, under the code. And it's because we've had multiple violations against him.
One more question, and then I'll leave this for another meeting, but let's say he got a violation 3 weeks in a row, and there's court once a month. Could he get fined for each of those?
Oh, absolutely. Those would be
violations?
separate counts.
Okay.
They would be separate summonses. And if we can, fine a maximum of $250 per, or whatever it is, that would be, $750 for each week. And,
Yeah.
And in the situations like that, because that would be sort of a two-pronged approach. We could probably go into Supreme Court and also continue to make life difficult by having him come into criminal court as well.
Yeah, there's probably a few that we should go to the Supreme Court, I think you said. But there's probably, we want compliance, so maybe if we poke them enough times, we'll get that. But okay, I don't know if there's any other questions, but that was all I had on that.
What else? Okay, let's see what we got next. Sunset Ridge, potential uses.
Yeah, so quick update on rec. So we have some major changes coming. Patty and Kathy are moving on to new roles in town. Kathy will be taking on the town clerk position, which is official now. Of course, we'll miss you, Michelle. And Michelle's moving on to a new role in town. And Patty's moving on to a new role in town. So basically, the entire rec department is changing over. So we've interviewed and hired 2 new employees to take over the rec department. Jared Kaczynski will be the new director of Parks and Rec, and Chris Heller will be the new rec leader. They both have big shoes to fill, but we're glad that Patty and Kathy will still be around to help them get off the ground. And they both start on December 4th. Also, over the past 2 years, Tony, Kathy, and Patty have driven some new investments in our recreation facilities and parks, and we'd like to continue building upon that. Last week, Eric, Nick, and myself toured some of the facilities and have been brainstorming on where we can invest next. So several years ago, there was a group that put together a plan for a rec center, which was not approved by the public. But the proposed location was on some town property by Home Depot called Sunset Ridge. And the 3 of us have discussed what could potentially be a good use for that property. So I was hoping to get the board's approval to engage with Tom Fenton to do some sort of preliminary study and determine how much land is available and usable up there as a baseline to start some discussions. And I sent you guys, and you should have a copy of just some old surveys that were done. I spoke to Victoria, and Tom is familiar with the property, so he would probably be the ideal person just to see what's possible.
Is this anywhere similar to a previous proposal a couple of decades ago from the town?
No, the only thing, no, that was, I think, probably way too much than what we could take on, but it could be a ball field, it could be nothing. I just wanted to, I know there's a steep drop off in the back. I believe the state used that as a staging area for replacing the intersection at 312 a few years ago.
It's been used a couple of times with various projects, yes.
Yeah, so it's nice and flat, I just don't know if we could do anything. I know you had proposed putting a building up, a volunteer park. Maybe a building like that could go up there, maybe not, but it's such a beautiful piece of property if you've ever been up there. The name Sunset Ridge is fitting, and I'd just like to see if there's any way that we could use it.
Yeah, Tony, I don't think Eric's suggesting a specific use at that point. He's just saying, let's find out
Well,
what's
I just
there,
wanted to
how
know,
much.
is it similar?
Yeah.
There's nothing proposed. I mean,
Okay.
it's, he's not proposing a rec building, or he's just saying, can we do some research to learn more about the property, how much room we have, what can go there, and then brainstorm about ideas. 'Cause as
There've
Eric
been
says, we've
there've
been
been a
up there
number
a
of
few times, and
proposals
it's beautiful,
that,
so.
I know Hudson Valley Cerebral Palsy was trying to partnership with the town of years ago.
I think that was
That
this.
could be that could be there, and I think that drawing, those drawings may have been done by LADA,
Okay, Terry Hahn.
Carrie Hahn,
Yeah.
exactly. And there may be more resources in her possession that we could utilize. I don't think Hudson Valley Cerebral Palsy has any interest in doing that. They were going to do an adaptive playground and other adaptive
That was-
sports fields.
That was it Opportunity Park? Is that what
Yeah,
it's called?
something like that.
The Opportunity Park.
Opportunity
The
League.
last
that's
one, I
it.
think, was down at the end of Mount Ebo or something.
It was going to be they were going to be trying to develop a multi-jurisdictional league for persons with disabilities.
Mhm.
And those fields were going to be adaptive for those individuals. And that's what it was going to be. I think it was going to be like a baseball league, but available to wheelchair and other handicapped individuals. But they had a program, as I recall, that was involved with building playgrounds, and Tiki Barber was involved, and he was ultimately the whole concept just blew up, and it hasn't gone anywhere. But
That's unfortunate. Yeah, there's, in this original study, there's some, like, baseball field, there's another field. And going up there, it just didn't seem like it would all fit, but the topo in the back is a huge cliff. So I don't know if, that's kind of what I was trying to find out. This page, the fourth page in here, I think that's the one that the public had proposed, recreation center, which went to referendum and failed. But on the right-hand side there, we have a part, Tony could probably explain this better, but we
That's fine.
had a joint, the glass building built a parking lot on our property,
Yeah,
right?
They had tremendous amount of extra traffic and cars on that site. It was really, really bad. So they were looking for additional space, and of course there's not. So what I did is we went up there and spoke to them
Yeah.
and asked them, it's an area that we would not use. Everything we're going to use is more toward the center of the property. And the deal was,
we have cross easements, so if we need that parking, we get to use it.
Right.
so with that, we approached them. They were very amenable, and they're using the space very well. I figured that most of the things that the town would do would be on the weekend and in the evenings when they're most likely not open. things have changed with medical practices now. They're open Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays and all the time. So we've split the parking basically. In other words, they put in a lot, which is very expensive proposition for them. They got that done. And if we ever use it, the parking that they put in on our behalf and for their behalf will be used jointly.
Okay.
And they also cut that road in out to Independent Way.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was, which was critical for the use of their site, but it could also be beneficial to the town at some point.
Yeah, so my ask is simply to, I don't even know, I guess, get authorization to spend a little bit of money this year to try and find out what would fit up there, if anything, and what type of site improvements would be required to do that, because it may not be feasible. I don't know. So are there any objections or?
I support the concept. I just don't know operationally how we handle what you're saying.
Me neither.
Well, as far as approving something, I'd probably wait until the next meeting because I have something right after yours, similar. We're going to be talking about the same location.
Okay, do we need to pass an approval, or is this something, can I reach out to Tom Fenton and start to ask him a few questions with the board on copy?
As long as they don't send us a bill.
I'll tell him to send it in January.
Next dream.
Okay, I'll send an email and we'll see what happens. Doesn't seem like anyone's opposed.
No, I'm not
Okay.
opposed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, item number 3 is establishment of a capital reserve fund. Speaking of which, I'm looking at the same site. Unfortunately, we've been waiting well over 3 years for a project in the village of Brewster to get underway. This town has 0 space for storage. We have multiple buildings where the residents have to go, and we got this from the county probably well over 20 years ago. And when we got it, the purpose of us obtaining it, we got 10 acres when the county took Tilly Foster Farm off the tax rolls. And it was kind of like here, you helped us and we're helping you. The sad thing is that the location of getting in and out of it was coming up from the 312 into the parking lot and going straight ahead into the location. But if anyone's been up there, it is a beautiful view, but the drop, I would say, has to be at least 20 feet. So I said, that's not going to work very well for a road. So with that, I contacted Harold Lepler's group, and where we actually put the road in, it was between one person's property and another person's property. There was a vacant right-of-way, which we used to get in and out. That's why it ended up where it ended up. We didn't have to get really anyone's permission. It was like a safety zone, but I didn't have to check with Mr. Lepler, and we didn't have to check with the other one. It was access that we put in. Now, we've been waiting, like I said, 3 years for a project in the village of Brewster to take hold. And again, we are in worse than desperate shape for storage in this town, 0. When we removed the building from 67 Main Street there a while back, I put together a proposal which came quite expensive. I've been looking for land for a new town hall and town court facility for, probably 8 years. And when the one with the village came along, I thought that was a pretty good idea. But now it's 3 years, and we cannot wait any longer. So part of what I'm going to suggest tonight is we have funds that over the years, I won't say we've been saving, and I'll explain, like with the budget this evening, about some of the revenues, how we have them, the surpluses we have, and I would like to prepare something with the board. You want the one thing, I'm going to look forward. Can we come forward and put together a plan how to use the surplus here for the town? So with the Capital Reserve Fund, right now, as you all maybe recall, we got ARPA money. We got some from the county, which amounted to about $1.6 million, and we got approximately $1.3 million from the federal government. That money has to be spent no later than 12/31/26, which gives us, let's see what next year, 4, 5, 6, two full years, okay? Now, we identified with the sales tax and ARPA funding we received from the county, we designated what we were going to use that money for, and that's already booked in a sense. What we don't have booked is what we're going to do with the federal money. So Cobb Road, the replacement of the culvert, we just did a temporary fix of that, but we have $500,000 set aside from ARPA money for that. We have $42,000 for digitalization of the town records. The Peach Lake remediation of the outlet, which is being worked on as we speak, received $150,000. And they are now seeking, I think, another $100,000 from Senator Harkam to complete that project. The town court relocation was $300,000. It was not identified where, just we were going to take some of that ARPA money and put it toward a town court relocation. $500,000 was going to go for a town hall relocation. Personally, if it goes in the village, we have two locations. We're going to have a court location, and we plan a town hall location. But again, is it ever going to happen? And I think they should make a decision soon, and if not, we have to move forward with what we plan for the town. And then again, we have $100,000 toward the refurbishing the Tenant Lake. To date, $67,000 has been sent, so right now there's approximately $32,000. And I just got a notice from the county. They're asking for an update of where we are with the county monies, which I'll be responding to. Now, when it comes to the ARPA money from the federal government, probably for the last 4 years, Mike Burdick has tried to get funding for Brewster Heights for the remediation, drainage projects, paving projects. And at the time we applied for the grant for Brewster Heights, it was over $6 million. He's piecemealing it together as he goes. So right now, we're going to get $1.3 million from the federal government, and he's requested, which will be part of it if it's accepted, paving of Allen Road, $50,000, paving of Elmwood Road, that's up in the Tenant Lake area, $85,000. Larkspur Drive, Tenant Lake area, $85,000, and South Drive, $85,000. He wants paving and drainage of Bloomer Road in Brewster Heights, $175,000. Lincoln Road in Brewster Heights, $175,000. North Road in Brewster Heights, $75,000. And Wilson Road in Brewster Heights, $75,000. Brewster Heights was built back in 1957. That's the year I moved there, the third person to move into Brewster Heights. And the roads and drainage, if you want to see bad pipes, go up there and look at those pipes when they dig them out of the ground. They're non-existent. So they have a tremendous amount of work that has to be done up there. And then they want Mike would like paving and drainage of road widening requires a retaining wall on Guinea Road. There's been a major problem down there now. Salinger's Orchard is expanding upon it. It's a very, very, very narrow road, and he's proposing to put a retaining wall up there and widen that road. And on Pugsley Road, now Pugsley Road, as you know, is where the new, what is it called now? Logistics Center?
Lincoln
It's got
Logistics or
5 or 6 names, but at any rate, up on Pugsley Road.
Industrial Owners LLC.
Okay. Any rate, up on there, now, when they're talking about Pugsley Road, the contract, whatever the name was, Lincoln Logistics or whatever the current name is, they're responsible for putting the road from Route 312 basically all the way up to, used to be Zimmer Road, which has now been renamed 10 Acre Lane because it leads to a parcel that's 10 acres. And there we need to pave, so from the old Zimmer Road to the, not state line, town line of Patterson, we have to pave, provide drainage, and road widening. That's been requested. And he's estimating $285,000 for that. So overall, that's $1.3 million. So if the town, I believe we should have a capital reserve fund. And what we do is we take the surplus funds, and we'll be going into more in a few minutes, identifying where this money goes. Because unfortunately, COVID had many, many bad things, But there was actually one good thing. It brought more money into this town. Crazy money. Very crazy, and I'll be reporting those numbers to you shortly. So it's not going to be tonight. So Eric, yours is going to be on the table at some point in time. And the capital reserve, if it's shot down, I'm not sure what will happen to the money that's been in reserve, but we'll have to go from there. But again, I do believe that we cannot wait any longer for the village. But that's not tonight, that's just a suggestion.
Just to summarize your ask, you're just looking for the money that's currently in reserve that we don't put an official use to. You just want to say, this chunk of money is for this use.
Yes.
And
So it would be, all of these, this one is already in the book, okay? So we just put it in the capital reserve fund. And the sad thing is, everyone has to have its own capital reserve fund, okay? And with the federal one, it's all in heights and refurbishment of roads, that can be one.
with 3 of the 5 of us leaving in a month, it doesn't feel appropriate to lock up the future town board.
Don't quite agree, but we don't do it.
If that were to happen and we needed to use the funds for something else, what would happen?
You have to undo it.
What's that? It's undoable. Meaning that you could reverse, a future board could reverse there's no such thing as a locked box.
Okay.
The state of New York has played that game for many years. They talk about such and such revenues going into a locked box. Unless you have a constitutional amendment, there's no such thing as a locked box.
Okay.
So future legislatures can't be hamstrung by a prior legislature unless the people of the state of New York approve it as a constitutional amendment.
Okay.
If this were to move forward, Will, is this a local law, a resolution, what is it?
It would be a resolution. I don't think it would have to be done by local law per se, but a resolution establishing a capital reserve fund would really be the vehicle. Shows an intent, and I think what Tony's also saying is that some of those monies, those ARPA funds, have to be identified, the purposes for which they're going to be used. They can't just be floating out there in midair, waiting for somebody to whimsically say, "Oh, let's spend it on this."
For the date that you gave, Tony, December 2026, I think you said, or
Yes.
the end of 2026, does the money need to be,
Has to be spent or it's lost.
okay, so it can't just be allocated, it has to be.
Yes, has to be spent. But there's plenty of time to get that
And Tony,
done.
is that, of those funds that we spend money on hand and they reimburse?
Yes,
Right, so that's another thing to keep into account, is that we would be saying, we're gonna spend X amount of dollars on this, funds that are in our fund balance. And then we would get reimbursed by the federal government or by the county or whatever it is.
Oh, so this isn't part of what this isn't part of any of the fund balances that we have currently?
yes,
Yes,
overall, yes. In our budget, it's money you have to account for, so it is in the fund balance. This one bit of money from the ARPA for the county's been
The 1.3
Huh?
isn't in our fund balance, correct?
Say it again.
The 1.3 Fed,
Is not in
Right,
our,
that's what I
it's
think
not
you're
in,
asking.
it's not in the bank,
got
no.
it, okay, so
We will
that,
draw down from that as we spend it. That's not in our fund balance
okay.
currently.
I can't help myself but say this, 20% of what Mike's asking for is to improve a road that, I just don't think that we should have to improve,
Which
is
one?
Pugsley.
Well, we may not. I
300,000.
mean,
It's just.
someone's gonna have to
really
do something out there. Who's gonna do it? I know the county's been asked to kind of take it on, okay?
Yeah.
Maybe make Pugsley Road a county road. There's been some discussion on it, doesn't go very far.
Yeah.
Because no one wants that responsibility.
That's the one that, on
But,
this
no matter-
list
and
of-
again, we still don't know if they're gonna put a gate up there, they're not gonna put a gate up there.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a problem. But it does have to get widened because it used to be a one-horse lane, and now it's a quarter donkey lane because it's just overgrown, but they're widening it. Well, what are you gonna call it?
Yeah, I'd like
Okay.
to see the other roads done. We get complaints about those, especially if we're getting reimbursed.
Okay, again, for future,
Oh, and one more quick thing. There was a meeting last night that the village had as an update to the revitalization plan. They gave a timeline that they're going to start closing on the properties in Q1 and start construction in Q2 or Q3 of next year. We've heard that before a few times, so I don't know
have
how
they
much-
taken, has the company actually taken properties? No.
No, they said last night that they had some issues in their site plans. They expect to have full approvals at the end of this year, and then start acquiring properties in Q1, which they haven't done any of that yet. And that would include our 2 properties. And then begin demolition and construction probably Q3, let's say. But, like I said, we've heard that before.
Okay, well, if that happens next year, like they're saying, you can have Sunset Ridge.
I could have what?
Sunset Ridge.
Oh.
We'll trade. Because that could be reality. But we really have to do something. We can no longer wait. This town is just, the storage is horrible. Every one of our offices are outgrown themselves for quite some time. Actually, when they bought this building, they didn't know it, but they outgrew it the minute we moved in my opinion. Okay,
Will we get a copy of those amounts?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's see. I think hopefully the decimal points aren't in the wrong spot. Okay,
Thank you.
we're gonna move on to the regular meeting. Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
First one is a motion to set a public hearing for the special permit for Splash Car Wash Thursday, November 30, 2023. So much for discussion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Will, are you going to post that? We got 3 weeks. Usually we only have 2 weeks. Are you going to post it for this?
You have to post it because I just got notice from the newspaper that for the next 2 editions, I have to get the
Because of Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving and something else.
Okay, well, when you're done tonight, you got a job.
So what day is the public hearing? I'm sorry.
You're going to be 30th, November 30th,
Okay, so I think I've got to get that in there.
tonight. That's what I give
Well,
you.
actually, the deadline was noon today.
Well, I
next week.
reminded you, but maybe it was late. Sorry.
What's that?
I tried to remind you. But I didn't know, I didn't see the closure
See
part.
anything.
Okay, you know what you got to do. Number 2, resolution adopt 2024 annual budget. Let me see.
Second.
Wait. Is there a resolution? Did we just, what's
There's a
that?
resolution.
Yeah. Where in the hell's mine? Wait a second, I have to have it here somewhere. It's buried here somewhere, hold on. I got your stuff. Oh, here it is. I got it, okay. Okay. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Southeast hereby adopts the 2024 preliminary budget as amended, as and for annual budget for the town of Southeast for the 2024 budget year. And be further resolved that the town clerk is authorized and directed to cause a copy of the 2024 annual budget be adopted to be published on the town's website, and that sufficient copies thereof be made available to the town clerk's office for public inspection. So move for discussion.
Second.
Discussion. I will be abstaining from the vote, and I'll identify my reasons why, so let's do a roll call vote.
Councilman Alvarez.
Yes.
Councilman Cypress.
Yes.
Councilman Larka.
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor.
Yes.
Supervisor Hay.
I will be abstaining for the following reasons. This is my 12th and final budget. All 11 of my previous submissions were within or below the tax cap, and I do not recall a single change in any of those budgets. This year, with inflation running rampant yet again, several new budgeted employees that will require newly renovated space, the need to equip some of them with vehicles, gas, and all of them with computers, furnishings, salary increases. This year, it will be 2.75% for over 50-plus employees, double-digit increases for retirement and health insurance benefits. I don't feel that the town could remain within the tax cap. As a 19-year Putnam County legislator and now a 12-year town supervisor, I've seen budgets run the gamut. I remember back in 2008, after 5+ years of 0% budget increases, the following year's budget rose 40%. It was eventually reduced to 23.34%, but it was 40%. I have learned over time to underestimate revenues and not try to balance a budget with them because they are very unpredictable. For instance, mortgage rates. In 2018, I projected $350,000 in mortgage rates. It came in that year, $461,000, $111,000 over what I budgeted. In 2019, I projected $350 again, and they beat the number again. They came in at $474, $124,000 over budget. In 2020, I raised it. I went to $387, and the actual was $589, a $202,000 increase. In 2021, I projected $470, went up again. It came in at $984,000. Now, this is the COVID period. No one can predict COVID, no one can predict the future, but these numbers went crazy, and that's why you have a large surplus in this town. And in 2022, I projected $529,000. It came in at $1.9 million. Now, I don't know anyone that could have predicted that. When COVID came, I was here like every day. It was a ghost town, but the more people were buying houses, they were selling like hotcakes, and they kind of still are. I know people selling their homes now, and they're getting more than what they put on the market for $400,000. 2 days, they had like 39 people, and it was sold $50,000 higher than what they were asking. Court revenues. Now, this one's a real winner, because I'm telling you, we can never keep the court revenues close. I projected $470,000 in 2018. Based on the previous year, it should have been pretty close to that. For some reason, we only took in $338,000. That's a deficit of $132,000. Now, a tax cap is 2%, which is approximately $140,000. Just that one line put us in the red. But because, at least the way I budget, I overestimate things and I underestimate revenues just because you can't figure them out. In 2019, I projected $470 for the court. They came in at $375. I was off now again by $95,000. In 2020, I projected $310. As COVID was just starting coming at the tail end, it came in at $646,000, an increase of $336,000. In 2021, I stayed at $310. I mean, I didn't know COVID was going to last a couple of years. Bottom line, $1.2 million. Now, what happened in the courts was they allowed people to plea by mail. And based on these numbers, they should let it do it every day of the year. This court, the parking, we could probably stay in this building in that case. But this number, $1.2 million, that was in 2021. An increase of $890,000. You can't predict this stuff. I mean, it's all over the map. At least I can't. In 2022, I went from 310 to 453. It came in at 776. And this year's projection, we're going back to normal. We'd be down to between $375, maybe $400,000. So it runs a gamut. There's no way predicting, and that's why I'm not quite positive what we should do. The 2024 budget has over 196 budget line changes. 36 of those lines have been permanently removed, and with all that, we are only $39,823 shy of going over the tax cap. I am not comfortable nor convinced that the town will be able to meet the budget revenue projections, nor will the budget cuts be sustainable. Why, you ask? When I became town supervisor, the town had a budget surplus of $98,000, which is why I'm suggesting the creation of a capital reserve account to build a much-needed town hall and town court. I can say based on the numbers tonight, because of COVID and not being able to predict, right now the town is approximately $7.9 million in the black. And again, we can build a town hall and town court with monies available. We won't have to borrow, and you borrow costs extra money. Bottom line, I've lived here for 66 years now, and I'll live here for as many more that I will be allowed. And don't be out there counting fingers, how many more. I am not as confident in this budget as I have been with past budgets, and stated previously, I will be abstaining. Passes 4-1. Abstention?
4-0.
Four yea, 1
4-0
abstention.
Zero,
with
one
one
abstention.
abstention.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay, number 3, resolution, establish performance bond for erosion and sediment control bond, Orchard Hill Logistics Center, 151 Fields Lane, tax map 78.2-87. Now therefore be resolved that the bond amount shall be established for the project set forth below. Project name, Orchard Hill Logistics Site Plan, site improvements, $14,854,000. Soil and erosion, $266,000. And be further resolved that a certified copy of this resolution shall be transmitted by the town clerk to the planning board secretary forthwith. So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 4, resolution, drainage stormwater facilities maintenance agreement authorization. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Southeast hereby authorizes the supervisor to enter an agreement for maintenance stormwater facilities, Route 312, Southeast New York. The agreement between Brewster Industrial Owner LLC, whereby the town, through its highway department, shall maintain certain stormwater facilities constructed in connection with the improvements to the intersection of Pugsley Road with New York State, it should say DOT, but New York State Route 312, required as a condition of approval of the logistics center to be located on portions of tax map numbers 45.-1-4, 45.-1-5, 45.-1-8.2, 45.-1-12, and 45.-1-36, the logistics property.
61.
Say it again? What did I say?
The last one, I thought you said 36. I think it was 61.
Really? That's not even close. Okay. The last one was 45.-1-61. The logistics property, provided the town shall be reimbursed by Brewster Industrial Owner LLC, its successors and/or signs, for the actual cost of providing such maintenance services, all as more full forth in the agreement. And be further resolved that the agreement or a memorandum of this agreement shall be recorded in the land records maintained by the county clerk of Putnam County and index owner of logistics property, and be further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately. So move for discussion.
Second.
The one good thing is we now know the name of the property, because we just discussed it previously. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, public comment. Town board, I would like to go first, if I could. I usually go last. I want to congratulate all those who participated in the local election recently. We have tonight with us Alex Mazzata. Congratulations on your town board seat. Wendy Lewis was also a winner. Kathy Judina was town clerk. And Nick Durante in the audience is town supervisor. I sent you a quick note. You can go, take your oath of office as soon as possible. And over the weekend, I'll be sending out all the paperwork you need to do your jobs. And we welcome you aboard. Oh, Mike Burdick. He was on a boat now. Okay, I didn't mean to mean, I left Mike out. Sorry about that. Mike has been around for quite a while and is doing a very excellent job as well. So thank you all and congratulations. Okay. Someone else?
I just have a quick question, if I'm allowed to ask it now. I got a call. Do we still do plea by mail for the
No.
court? No?
Only when requested. Sometimes the people that are far, far away, they get a ticket coming through town,
Yep.
and they live in Florida, they live in California, whatever, they will sometime request a plea by mail accommodation, which then the court sends to me to make a recommendation, usually a point reduction or something of that nature, and then the judge blesses it and sends it out. Well, actually, it goes to them for signature, and then the judge blesses it and sends them a fine notice. What was going on during COVID is we were doing that, it was a machine. we would do several calendars a month of hundreds of tickets.
Mhm.
And because of the situation, I would say that the penalties were relaxed, but as far as, you know, point allocations and things like that, but the fines would accommodate the reduction in the possible insurance increase by having a moving violation, and people were very happy to pay. And certain sections of the law that if they plead guilty to it, there's a fine and a state mandated surcharge, and the fine money, 100% stays in the town. In certain moving violations, we only get a percentage of the fine money, up to a certain amount.
James Schmidt, Supervisor Schmidt of Pauling reached out to me and asking about courts. And he said that, or I thought he said that they still do plea by mail. Instead of doing it when it's requested, could we look at doing it?
That would be
offering
in the
more?
discretion of the judges.
Okay.
Would the state constitution be able to be changed? I mean, the results of that, people have backlogs of bills like we had, and the numbers are just outrageous.
Yeah.
If you talk to the court staff, there are problems with that process, and it stems from the state laws that are administered by the Department of Motor Vehicles. For instance, if we were to plea it down to a non-moving violation, parked on pavement or something like that, Section 1201A of the Vehicle and Traffic Law, which has no points associated with it. It's essentially a parking ticket. And the state statute allows a judge's discretion a fine of up to $150 and a $25 surcharge, which is statutory. Okay, so the judge, they accept that as a reduction, the judge endorses it, puts down a $150 fine and a $25 surcharge, so to resolve the matter, they have to pay the town of Southeast Court a fee of $175. 25 of that will go to the state, 150 of it would be kept by the town. What happens is, and they have, when I say they, the court personnel has boxes of plea by mails that they've accepted it, and they've not paid the money. And you can't suspend their driver's license for not paying on a non-moving violation.
You can't win.
So, well, no good deed goes unpunished. But there is a process by which we as a town can file a judgment against a civil judgment against the motorist. Unfortunately, most of them are out of state, and we can't file a judgment in their home state. That's a federal constitutional problem,
Okay.
Now,
unless we bring an action in that home state.
I can say when I got here, I was really, really surprised. I heard about how much revenue our courts, I think I heard we were number 2 or number 3 in the state, which we were close, it was like maybe 5th in the state with revenues. And we make a lot of money for the town. But in reality, we lost money. I mean, we have, X number of court clerks, we have the judge, we have interpreters, we have the lawyer fees, not even charging a penny for any of the accommodations we provide them.
Right.
We actually lost money. So until COVID came along, the courts lost money for our town.
Right.
And it made us money this year.
I know you were pulling your hair out about that for the longest time.
Yep.
And then you went silent.
I picked up the ball.
I wrote Albany, contacted, everything comes out of White Plains, bureaucratic. I just couldn't believe the attitude. But courts actually lose money. And the other ones around definitely lose money because we have at least revenue to almost offset the cost. I think 1 year out of the 10, we actually maybe made about $75,000. It was a small amount, but almost every year we had lost money. I couldn't believe it when I got here. Couldn't believe it. Okay, anyone else?
One other quick thing, and I'll stop. At our next meeting, there's going to be an update on how we charge our water rates. And Rod had put together a spreadsheet on what those potential changes would look like. I'd offered to work with him on that. There was some extra data that we needed to look at, which I just got yesterday, so.
Oh, don't tell me, because we already printed them. They're going out on Monday.
No, we didn't put the rates in there.
No, I know,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, it's just the rates, just the
Okay.
calculation.
Don't scare
No. So I should be able to send that to the board to look at in the next couple days.
Okay, but that'll be the next mail when it goes out for the quarterly for next year. What we're just notifying now that there's gonna be a
Yeah.
change the way it's done.
Ron said we should get it done by the end of the year, but you're right, it would be the April bill, I
Yeah.
guess.
So-
And we'll just discussing the logic change, I guess, at the next meeting.
Okay. That was done,
Or the
that was
approach.
actually done today. We had about 3 or 4 people work on it and get it done.
Okay.
We'll go out on
Sure.
Monday.
I would like to make mention about Veterans Day being celebrated on Saturday. They always have a ceremony down at,
Please do.
well,
Speak up.
I'm only,
I don't know the
You could have been a
detail, I don't know the
veteran.
details, so.
I'm not a veteran. But just so that people know, the Veterans Day, which is a very important day in our nation, is, I guess it's holidays being celebrated tomorrow, but the actual Veterans Day is always the 11th day of the 11th month. And it's being celebrated this Saturday. There will be a ceremony, I believe it commences at 11 o'clock on the 11th day of the 11th month, but the American Legion has asked that people show up, and in honor of our veterans, we have a great community of veterans, including one sitting right there.
And 2 on the other end.
That's right.
He's Army,
Oh, that's
though,
right.
that doesn't count.
He's active. Yes, and
And by the way, the Marine Corps birthday is just coming, whatever day the 10th is.
that's tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Hey,
Is that
happy
the
birthday
Marine Corps
to
birthday?
Marines. Huh?
Marine Corps birthday?
Yeah. They drilled that to you in boot camp,
I'm sure they did.
from the drill instructor.
Hoorah. Semper Fi. But, so if anybody's watching this, please come down to the Electra Zone Field, or, did they call it Veterans Memorial Park?
Veteran, yeah.
Yeah. Which is, I don't know, Railroad Avenue in the Village of Brewster, or near the Village of Brewster, and join us in celebrating our veterans.
Any other comment? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
A motion, we close tonight's meeting?
All in favor?
All right.
Thank you all for coming.